Hello, welcome to the world today. I'm Amarachi Ubani on the program today. We'll be looking at President Donald Trump warning Europe that it is facing the call is facing civilization erasure, while the U.S. president plans to expand the number of countries covered by its travel ban to more than 30 countries, and the U.K. begins campaign to fight visa crimes in Nigeria. We begin the program today with the Trump administration warning of an impending civilization erasure in Europe based on whether countries can remain allies. This is contained in a 33-page national security strategy document where President Donald Trump outlines his vision for the world and how he will wield U.S. military and economic power to work towards it. Trump has described the document as a roadmap to ensure America remains the greatest and most successful nation in human history. Focusing on Europe, it asserts that if current trends continue, the continent would be unrecognizable in 20 years or less, and its economic issues are eclipsed by the real and more stark prospect of civilization erasure, stating it is far from obvious whether certain European countries will have economies and militaries strong enough to remain reliable allies. The document accuses the European Union and other transnational bodies of carrying out activities that undermine political liberty and sovereignty, as migration policies are creating strife. Reacting to the U.S. position on Europe, Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul said his country did not need outside advice. In other news to do with the United States, it plans to announce expansion of the number of countries covered by its travel ban to more than 30. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was making the comment in Fox News when asked to confirm whether the Trump administration would be increasing the number of countries on the travel ban to 32. Back in June, the U.S. president signed a proclamation banning citizens from 12 countries from entering the United States and restricting 7 others, saying it was needed to protect against foreign terrorists and other security threats. The bans apply to both immigrants and non-immigrants, such as tourists, students, and business travelers. The Secretary of Homeland Security did not specify which countries would be added to the list. And just a couple of days ago, President Donald Trump said he does not want Somali immigrants in the United States, telling reporters they should go back to where they came from and that their country is no good for a reason. That comment came as immigration authorities were reportedly planning an enforcement operation in Minnesota's large Somali community. While the Somali Prime Minister says he would not give the U.S. President's comments importance and suggested they should be ignored, former St. Paul City Council member Kassim Busuri, who is Somali American, condemned President Trump's remarks, saying it is not acceptable.
There are few people who committed fraud. Not all hundreds of thousands of Somalis in the U.S. committed fraud. Donald Trump committed fraud. Are we saying all white men are garbage? No, we're not. He was prosecuted for fraud. And we're not calling every white person in America garbage, right? So it's not okay for him to call every Somali American who lives in the US garbage because a few of our members decided to do something bad and commit fraud. That is on them, and they're being prosecuted and they're getting justice. And that's how it goes. It goes through the court. It goes through the justice system. It does not need to go to the president and be emotional about what's happening about 20 to 30 people who committed fraud out of 100,000 people who have not committed fraud. And again, it's emotions that he's going off of. It's his rhetoric. And he wants to cause fear amongst Americans. And we can see beyond that. We Americans can see beyond what he's doing. He wants to cause fear. He wants to cause distraction from what's going on. And we all know what he's doing. And the Somalis they're not all criminals. They're model citizens. Like I said earlier, we have out of over 20 years that we've been in Minnesota, we've established hospitals, we have established schools, we have established clinics, we have established transportation companies. So there's plenty of companies that exist. They're also in the caring careers like doctors, nurses, um, assistant livings, all of that. So if you say all of those Somalis to go back, who's going to take care of the elders? Who's going to take care of the kids that are in the daycares? Who's going to do all those work that you don't have anybody doing right now that the Somalis are doing? So he needs to set back and get off his high horse and apologize to the Somali community immediately.
In a bid to curb visa fraud, the United Kingdom has launched an awareness campaign to reduce its recurrence in Nigeria. The campaign, tagged Fight Visa Crimes, will run from this festive season into 2026. In an interview with Channels Television, the UK Deputy Head of Mission, Simon Field, stressed that the UK government is working closely with Nigerian agencies to tackle the growing trend of visa-related criminality in the country. He also encourages Nigerians to apply for visas themselves and avoid the use of proxies.
We're increasing awareness of what fraudulent emails look like and the impact that that's had on people's lives to stop people thinking they have to take these shortcuts. And we're doing that through our social media campaign and our media campaign, which, as I said, is #FightVisaCrime. So there's lots of examples. My boss, the High Commissioner in Abuja, has recently done a video which kind of highlights this campaign. But we'll be doing this isn't just a one-off campaign. We're doing this during particularly busy periods for visas. So we know now is a busy period. And we'll be running this all the way up to summer 2026. But that's just one aspect of it. Increasingly, across the countries that we're working with, so Australia, New Zealand, Canada, we're increasingly sharing information. So we're sharing information across our countries. And that means that if you do try and shortcut the system, if you do try and lie on a visa form, or you fall foul of an agent that has misrepresented you, ultimately you could get a travel ban of up to 10 years. And that's not just to the UK. That is also to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and other European countries, because we share information increasingly. Then just in terms of what the UK is doing, we have been increasingly working with Nigerian agencies. We have a Nigerian Immigration Crime Unit, which is increasingly doing training to look at how we work with agencies here to fight that criminality in Nigeria. Like, this is also this is fueling wider criminality in Nigeria, which does need to come to an end, and we are increasingly working with our agencies to make that happen. We signed an MOU in May this year, which allows us to share more information and work together to resolve this issue, and we're really starting to use that to build training, build capacity. And then we've also increasingly worked with the airport authorities and airlines so that they recognize signs of false visas as they potentially go through. So even if you do use an agent and you are successful, you aren't necessarily guaranteed to be able to get to the UK. There is a final process. So my message to you is, do not feel like you can shortcut the visa system. Use the legitimate channels. They work. We issue over 157,000 visas to the UK every year. Those legitimate channels work. Most visa applications, especially if you've completed them yourself, will go through. And if you feel like you've made a mistake, or we're talking here of fraud, so you are putting through documents which are a lie. It's easy to make a mistake, but if you make a mistake, that isn't fraud. A UK VI, the UK visa sections, look at the visa applications. If you've made a mistake, they'll come back to you and they'll ask follow-up questions. But you have to remember, UK VI see hundreds, about 450 visa applications every day. They know fraudulent documents, and they know the tricks which agencies and fraudsters use to try and interpret real documents. They've seen them all before, and very often they're lazy. So they'll write a fake document for you, which is the same as the other 100 people that they have used it for. And it's a really obvious sign, and we're really good at picking up on that information. And like I said, we will ban you if we've found that, because ultimately it's your responsibility to check your documents. Even if you've used an agent and they've misrepresented you, ultimately it's your responsibility to make sure that the information that you're provided to UKVI is accurate. And if we find that there's fraudulent information, I'm afraid that can lead to a 10-year travel ban, and we will share that information across a host of countries, which may make it harder for you to travel to those countries as well. So my message is, please, use gov.uk, check what documents are needed, do the application yourself. If you need help with documents, or you need help, make sure that what is presented and that you provide to UKVI is accurate and there are no fraudulent documents, because we will catch it.
The UK Deputy Head of Mission Simon Field here in Lagos. You can watch more of that interview on Diplomatic Channel. It airs next Monday at 8:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Now it's day 2 of Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to India. Both leaders have already made a number of agreements. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said energy security was part of the most important parts of Russia-India cooperation following talks with the Russian president. Both countries have started working on a mutual 30-day visa-free regime for tourists. He noted that the friendship between Russia and India remained like a constant guiding star. President Vladimir Putin said he was happy to be meeting with his friend Narendra Modi. He said the range of their cooperation with India is huge, citing ship and aircraft manufacturing, nuclear energy, and space exploration. And just a while before meeting with the Indian Prime Minister, the Russian president, in a recorded interview in Moscow, said Russia is denying Ukraine has a right to defense and security, but that when it came to NATO, such a move would threaten Moscow's own security. Russia has repeatedly said that Ukraine must be neutral under any peace plan, while Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has demanded that his country be admitted. Both Donald Trump and the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, have ruled out any peace deal, while Rutte said this week that there was no consensus on admission even among allies. Putin also commented on suggestions Russia could rejoin the G7 under the Trump-backed peace plan, but said the Europeans would make that difficult and stressed that Moscow was actively involved in other important formats such as the SCO, BRICS, and the G20. President Vladimir Putin also noted the rapid rise of new growth centers in the global economy, countries of the global south, South Asia, India, and Indonesia. The Russian president has also warned again that Ukraine must withdraw from its eastern Donbas region or Russia will seize it, rejecting any compromise over how to end the war in Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky has ruled out ceding any territory. President Putin's comments come after Donald Trump said his negotiators discussing a U.S. peace plan believed Russia's leader would like to end the war after Tuesday's talks in Moscow. Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, who was in Moscow, is due to meet the Ukrainian team in Florida. Kremlin says it is waiting for the reaction of American colleagues to the discussion that they had on Tuesday, and there are no plans for a call between President Putin and Trump, and no date has been set for a new meeting with Steve Witkoff. The Israeli army has confirmed carrying out a strike on a building in the southern Lebanese town of Jabba on Thursday, saying the attack foiled Hezbollah's attempts to resume its activities in the area. The raid followed an announcement by Israeli army spokesperson Avichai Adre that the military would soon target Hezbollah's military infrastructure across southern Lebanon to counter the group's efforts to rebuild. Plumes of smoke rose from the ruined building as Lebanese civil defense teams attempted to put out the fire and clear the rubble. Adre also issued warnings on his X account to residents in the buildings marked in red on attached maps, as well as those in neighboring structures in the villages of Jabba, Maruna, Majdal, and Brasht. Germany will be hosting the 2029 Women's European Football Championship. It's a bit won over those of Poland, Denmark, and Sweden by receiving the overwhelming majority of votes from UEFA's Executive Committee. For more on this, I'm joined now by the DW correspondent Marie Sina in the German capital, Berlin. Marie, great to see you. What made Germany's application to host the Women's Euro Cup stand out?
Germany's application to host the Women's Euro Cup had one core message. Let's make women's football huge. Its plan is big stadiums, big visibility, and big revenues. In the application brochure, the German Football Association stated that it's their goal to create a tournament that will promote women's football in every corner of Europe. 8 German cities were chosen to host the matches. Among them is Munich, for example, with its Allianz Arena, which seats about 70,000 people. And on top of that, the German Football Association said that it is convinced that this tournament will attract more than 1 million fans. And last but not least, it promised that this will be the first Women's Euro Cup that will turn a profit. Many believe that this last pledge was a deciding factor in Germany winning the bid.
So this pledge to make the Women's Euro Cup profitable, why would that be a big deal for Germany?
Well, it's a big deal because so far no Women's Euro Cup has been profitable. It's estimated that the Euro Cup that took place in Switzerland this year ended with 35 million euros in losses. As a comparison, the Men's Euro Cup in 2024 raked in a profit of 1.3 billion euros for the host country. But it's not all doom and gloom. Women's football is on the rise. This year's Women's Euro Cup saw record attendance and viewership across Europe, and it even broke records in US television. The tournament also generated twice as much money for UEFA, for the governing body, compared to the Women's Euro Cup in 2022. So we are seeing a really positive trend, and this is the momentum the German Football Association wants to build on when they say, we promise to host the first profitable Women's Euro Cup.
It will be profitable for them, but what about making enough money? What would be the impact on players?
So similar to viewership, the prize money for the Women's Euro Cup is also rising. In 2022, the prize money overall was 16 million euros. That increased to more than 40 million euros this year. But compared to men's football, there is still a big gap. The prize money for the men's Euros was 8 times that of the women's tournament, 331 million euros in total. That is important to note. But what is important to note, ultimately, the individual national football associations do have agency in establishing equal pay when it comes to these bonuses. The national associations receive the prize money and then they distribute it to the individual players. And in the US and in Norway, equal pay among players already exists. So players all get paid the same bonuses, no matter if they are male or female. In Germany, that still looks very different. If the German female team would have won this year's tournament, the German Football Association would have paid them 120,000 euros each. If the men would have won their latest Euros, they would have gotten paid 3 times that amount. So we're still far off from equal pay.
Yeah, loving the focus on the women, Marie. Thanks again. Here in Africa, the presidents of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by none other than the U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. Ahead of the summit, there were renewed clashes in resource-rich eastern DR Congo between government forces and rebels believed to be backed by Rwanda. DR Congo's army accused its rivals of attempting to sabotage the peace process, but the M23 rebels said the army had launched an offensive in breach of a ceasefire. DR Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame have frequently exchanged insults in recent years, each accusing the other of starting the conflict. During this signing ceremony, which happened on Thursday, there was no public handshake between the two. Their body language appeared frosty throughout.
These accords provide everything needed to end this conflict once and for all. If this agreement falters and things do not work out as they are supposed to, the responsibility will not lie with President Trump, but with ourselves. It's up to us in Africa, working with our partners to consolidate and expand this peace.
The Democratic Republic of Congo will fully play its part with dignity, with consciousness and consistency, and with the support of our partners. We will remain watchful, vigilant, but not pessimistic. We'll be clear-eyed, but resolutely optimistic. These Washington agreements for peace and prosperity must be for our peoples a symbol of an irreversible commitment to turn the page of confrontations and to open a new era of cooperation and sustainable peace throughout the region.
Let's go further south now. President Cyril Ramaphosa has highlighted the country has not received any formal communication from the U.S. as the next host for the G20 Leaders Summit in 2026. It follows recent statements on social media from the Trump administration that South Africa will not be invited to Miami for the Leaders Summit. President Ramaphosa says South Africa is an equal sovereign country and should be treated like one.
The United States has said that South Africa will not be invited. We have not seen that in writing yet. We've just had media publications. We are yet to receive it in writing, and we will deal with that when it comes. We are, as South Africa, a fully fledged member of the G20, and we have held a very successful G20, and this is not only being said by us. It is said by many, many other people around the world, saying that South Africa's presidency of the G20 was a very successful G20.
Well, check your calendars. Christmas is just 3 weeks away. That leaves limited time for those crafts workers in Kashmir. Little time to meet the surge to order for the orders of the festive season amid rising global demand for their handmade ornaments. Those products are already sold on major e-commerce platforms. You may have some in your home if you check. Many families have relied on the craft for generations in the holiday season. It is one of the busiest times of the year for the craftsmen. That's the world today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Obani.